Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us again today. Well, I've got a quick video for you here today, and this is going to be kind of a basic video, but we've had a lot of people that are new to the concealed carry world asking about the difference between target ammo and defensive ammo, and if there's any real difference between defensive ammo and how to make that decision. Well, we're going to get into all those details here in just a minute. Alright, once again, welcome back. Thanks for being with us. If this is your first time coming to the channel, or if you've been watching our videos and you just haven't had a chance to before now, and you like our content, please consider subscribing. You can locate that subscribe button in the lower right hand corner of your computer screen there, or if you are on a mobile device, you can scroll down below the video and you can subscribe that way. It's a simple thing that helps out a whole lot, and we really appreciate it. So let's jump right in. So like I said, this is basic, but we're also going to try to keep it basic. We're not going to get into all of the minute details because we don't want to make it to overwhelm you with too much info. But so basically, when you select your handgun, obviously that's one of the hardest things that you'll do is selecting what you're going to carry. And we'll do a quick safety check on this guy for you here, let you know that we are empty. But before we do anything, obviously, you pick a handgun, well, you got to pick what kind of ammunition that you're going to put in it. Now, this is one of those areas where you can get a lot of bad advice, and of course, you don't just want to take whatever is handed to you without asking some questions. So let's first talk about different types of ammunition. Obviously, you're going to need both types of ammunition if you plan to practice and you plan to have defensive ammo in your handgun. And there's reasons for that. We'll get into the differences here in a minute, but one of the big differences to have both kinds in the first place is there's definitely a difference in cost, and you don't want to use a ton of your expensive defensive ammo at the range. So let's get to the basics first. So looking at this, this is a 9mm projectile. This is a 115 grain. And the lead underneath is covered by this metal jacket, okay, all the way. And for that reason, they call this a full metal jacket round. And you've got slight differences, like this one here has a little bit different color, slightly different jacketing, it's different manufacturer. And this has got a copper plating over it. But they're all essentially the same thing. They're lead protected by a metal jacket. And what that means is that when this is traveling toward an object, it's going to have a tendency to more easily penetrate and keep going. Eventually, obviously, when it meets enough resistance, it will stop, but it will tend to penetrate rather than stop. Transitioning over to your defensive ammo, defensive ammunition, if you'll notice, you've got this open end, what they call the hollow point. You can see this one's a little bit different as far as the size of the opening, and you can see little cuts here in the side of the point. Then this is yet another variety with a little bit different point on it. The idea behind these is that when they come in contact with a surface, when they hit, they expand. And that mushrooming effect, most people who sell the ammo, they'll even show you on the box what the projectile, looks like once it mushrooms. Well, why do you want your projectile to mushroom whenever it hits something? Well, there's a couple of reasons. When the projectile opens up like that, rather than just passing through, when it opens up, it's going to make a larger area, and it'll transfer more energy into whatever it's being shot at. The expansion is also going to have a tendency to keep it from passing through the object that it's fired into. So, whereas something like this tends to fire and penetrate, something like this will tend to mushroom, slow down, and stay within the object that it's fired into. So, why would you want that in the first place? Well, you have to remember, for every round that you fire from your defensive weapon, You are accountable for what happens after that. If you fire something that can overpenetrate, you could very well, and even if you shoot correctly, you could overpenetrate whatever you were firing at, and if it goes beyond and hits an innocent bystander or property, you can have collateral damage that is very regrettable. You or nobody else would want that. So you definitely want to make sure that you have the right type of ammunition, because it's safer and it's more effective. So fundamentally, that's the reason why these were designed in the first place. So now that we understand the fundamental differences, obviously the next question that comes up is, well, what's the real difference between these anyway, and which one should I get? Well, this is another area where you're going to get people say, well, carry this one or carry that one. They'll name off different brands, and they'll tell you that that's the only thing you should carry because it's the best. Well, be prepared to ask follow-up questions like, why? So you got all kinds of people who make defensive ammo, okay? You got your Speer Gold Dot, you've got Hornady, you've got Remington, you've got, Sig V-Crown, Barnes. I've got tons and tons of different kinds of ammo here. We can just go all day long doing this. But at the end of the day, if you're going to try and decide on a ammo to go in your firearm, what you really need to do is take several different types of ammo with you to the range. Now, if you go with a well-known, a good quality ammo from a reputable company, you're probably not going to have any issues anyway. For example, I have a lot of different ammo because I test a lot of different things with a lot of different guns, but I ultimately end up carrying just a few types of ammunition. And for me, what that ends up being more often than not is going to be the Gold Dot Speer, the Speer Gold Dot personal protection here, or the Sig V-Crown, and I'll tell you why. So, if I take 5 different types of ammunition and I go to the range and I shoot 10 rounds out of each one, everything else being equal, the firearm is the same, I'm stabilized as best I can. In other words, I know that I'm shooting the gun the same way, I'm using the same bullet weight, say these are both 124 grain, which these are. If I shoot both of these and say shoot several rounds out of each one, 10 out of each, and the first pattern is large, scattered, not very accurate, very bad grouping. Say I do that with the first one, and then I take the second one I shoot, and with all things being equal, I can consistently shoot a better group. Well, that might be an indicator that for that gun, and for you, for the way you shoot, that might be the better choice. Now, the reason that I said that I tend to lean toward the Speer Gold Dot or the V-Crown is because in many handguns that I carry, that ends up being the most accurate round for me in my firearm. You obviously may get a different result. You may shoot, 100 rounds, and at the end of the day, the Remington might be the best thing you've ever shot in your life. Or it may be the Critical Duty. There's no telling which one's going to be the best one for you. But the only way you're really going to know that is to take several types and go out. Now, you may ask, well, why is that my criteria? Because there's a lot of different types of ammunition that they claim to be more effective than others. Well, for me, accuracy is the single most important thing I'm looking for. Obviously, quality. You don't want garbage ammo that's, not going to fire half the time. But accuracy is my number one concern with something I'm going to carry in the firearm, because, once again, you're responsible for every shot that you take. So if you're going to train and you're going to be a responsible citizen with a firearm, you want to make sure that any rounds that you have to fire, if you're in that unfortunate situation, go only where you intend them to go. And if you use ammunition that you've proven that you are good with proficiently all the time, your chances of repeating that range performance in real life are going to be a lot better. So for me, practicing and finding the most accurate round based on offerings from reputable manufacturers is the best way for you to find out what you should carry. So we've talked about the difference between target ammo and defensive ammo, and we've talked about some of the differences in defensive ammo. And, once again, everybody has their own little cuts and size of the point, things like that. And once again, these are all designed just to give you, different types of mushroom patterns, different levels of effectiveness, different results based on how it's designed. So here's some things to stay away from. And once again, this is just advice because I hear people say things and make decisions about what type of ammo, and they're basing it on things that I think could come back to haunt you later. I overheard someone in a gun store saying, yeah, I want to get some of that RIP ammo. And if you don't know what RIP is, it's a particular brand, and it's advertised as being, very effective, very devastating ammo, and they make some other different types of ammo that have, different types of tips, segmented tips, and different things, different ways that they claim that their round is more devastating and more effective. And what I would say to you is I would avoid carrying any round in my firearm that there's any kind of a marketing or advertising push of it being more devastating, more impactful than another round. Most people, when they advertise their ammo, it's simple, defensive ammo. Okay, that's nice. Same thing here, Remington, ultimate defense. It's very simple. If you have something that's really making a point to advertise how much more devastating it is than another one, I personally wouldn't carry that in my firearm for any reason. And you may be asking, well, why? What difference does it make? Well, if you're in that unfortunate situation where you've had to use your firearm, no matter what you do, right, wrong, or indifferent, there's going to be questions, there's going to be legal matters being discussed. And like I say, we're not having a legal discussion here today because that's not really our area of expertise. But everything about that incident is going to come under scrutiny. What type of weapon you used, what caliber you used, what type of ammo you used, because anything that an attorney can use or find that would favor their client, obviously they're going to use it. So, just for example, a 9mm is a very popular defensive caliber. There are many popular defensive calibers, 9mm, 380, 40, 357, 38, the list goes on. But, if I'm carrying a 10mm or a 44 Magnum, those are both great rounds to me. But, they've heard cases where there have been cases documented where attorneys just looked at the type of firearm and the caliber and said, well, that seems to be overkill. They point out merely the caliber that you used. So if they're going to try to make a case for excessive defensive force, even though it was justified with the type of gun that you carry, they certainly have been cases where they've looked at the type of ammunition. So once again, I would avoid something that has an advertisement that makes it seem like it's far more devastating or harmful than another type, because I just like to avoid those kinds of things. It's better to be able to say, well, I selected the Remington Ultimate Defense because it's a jacketed hollow point, and as a responsible gun owner, I wanted to make sure that if I was in the unfortunate situation where I had to use my firearm, that I did not cause any collateral damage because that round would stay in the intended target. It's a simple answer, and I think that that's a safe way to go about it. So, well, those are your basics. That's a quick cursory, overview of the ammo. And of course, there's a lot more out there to it, but if you really want to get the best information, take your handgun, take a few types, and go try it out. You'll be happy with the results. You'll find out pretty quick what the best one is. All right. Well, thanks a lot once again for being with us today. That's going to do it. We'll be back very soon with another video for you. So until that time, as always, everybody be safe and have a great day. Thank you.